Welcome back. You're listening to WSB Stony Brook. I'm here now with alternative rock band Hands Like Houses. They're from Australia, now touring on Vans Warped Tour. So how's the tour been treating you guys so far?
It's been fantastic, yeah, really good run. Hit all the hot states so far, so it's starting to cool off now. We're headed to the northeast, which is great.
The only problem has been a little bit of rain, but I mean, all the kids keep coming out and having a great time, so there's no problem so far.
So, with the tour being so diverse and everything, have you picked up any bands that you really enjoyed that you didn't know before?
I think we've been vaguely familiar with most of the bands that we've checked out so far. There's a bunch of great bands, coming up through, bands like The White Noise, Too Close to Touch, Sila. As far as like what you've heard of, then it really depends what genres you're into. There's a bunch of great bands across the mark, but
yeah, there's an interesting little pop band out of Nashville, I want to say. They're called Jul Vera. I really enjoyed catching their set most days as well. It's really nice little change from the general Warped kind of vibe.
Yeah.
So let's talk about kind of what the band is doing now. Recently, you just put out a new single called Drift. So tell us about the production and how that song became to be.
I think we wanted to have some stuff up our sleeve, because one thing with our previous record with Dissonance was we had quite a challenging writing and recording process, just in that we went in and as we're getting close to the end of the studio session, it just didn't quite come together as perfectly as we wanted it to, so we ended up having to go back in. But part of that whole process was just being so stressed out, so we wanted to really take our time with the next record. But obviously going into Warped and going into some of our upcoming things that we've got happening, we just wanted to have some stuff up our sleeve. So we went into the studio late last year and just put together a song just naturally and comfortably, and worked with a guy called Mike Green.
It was actually a surprisingly quick process. We just had like a little guitar riff, and then that kind of like triggered everything off. And I think we worked on it for sort of 2 weeks, and then we're in the studio for about three days.
Yeah, it wasn't long.
And it all just kind of came together. It was actually a very stress-free process, which is unlike our
So
recording.
your writing process for making songs is more structural, piece by piece?
We don't really have a single set structure. I think that's what kind of gives us a bit of diversity in our writing. Sometimes we'll write things ourselves and explode it out from one idea. Sometimes we'll come in with a bit more of an idea, a bit more of a collective idea.
You guys been musicians for about like 8 years or so. You've been in Hands Like Houses.
Much longer than that, yeah.
Much longer, okay. But for all that time spent, how has your writing style and everything changed through time?
I think we've always tried to be better songwriters, so for us it's about being very intentional, whether that's, intentional structure, intentional melody, make sure we give everything a reason to be there, and if something doesn't have a clear and defined reason to be there, or a clear identity, or add something to the song, then it's not really worth having in. So we're very intense editors. We tend to kind of pull back and rewrite things a lot.
Yeah. And also just like touring a lot as well. You tour with like a variety of different bands. You're exposed to lots of different bands and experiences, so that kind of shapes things that you write about, or like styles that you might explore.
Do you have any goals as musicians for upcoming records?
Look, to keep doing what
Like
we're
we
doing and enjoy the ride. But as far as like a sound wise, I'd say I think in the next record we're just trying to kind of almost not strip it back a little bit, but probably maybe be a little bit more raw. Maybe not quite be so tight-fisted on the way that we like intentionally structure stuff. Like try to actually be a little bit like trust our instinct a little bit more. But to be honest, we don't really know what shape that's going to take yet. We've committed ourselves not to really try and get our heads into it until after Warped. So it means we can enjoy the tour, enjoy the ride, and almost treat it like a bit of a
last little break,
a working holiday, and then get back,
fun,
and then actually get to the real work afterwards.
So, your band, again, we talked about the newest single, Drift. You guys moved the record labels, I believe, from Rise Records to Hopeless Records. So how has that transition been for you guys?
Really smooth. We basically came to the end of our Rise contract late last year. Was it? Something like that, anyway. And yeah, to be honest, we actually wanted to take our time with working out any sort of new record deal. We looked at independence and doing a few other options. But yeah, we've had friends at Hopeless for years, just friends that happen to work there, and they kind of just made us an offer that we couldn't really say no to, and it really has moved absolutely beautifully, smoothly into what we're doing now, and they're really supportive of kind of
What's in the future
not
as
just
well.
our vision for the music, but also our, how we run our business, and where we want to be, and how we see ourselves progressing as a as a band professionally. So they've been incredible so far, and yeah, it's been really easy, really smooth.
So how does it work for you guys with branding and like merch design? How do you guys decide what's going to go out and to represent your band?
It's
Yeah.
kind of like a 50-50 sort of thing with merch label.
Yeah.
Say merch label? I don't know what you do. Merch company. Absolute Merch. Also, we're really close friends with them. Basically, since we've been over in America, we've been working with them, and they kind of know what we like and how we see ourselves. So it makes them presenting ideas and us presenting them ideas really smooth and easy.
Yeah, and beyond that, we do have a good team of designers, and once again, we just try and really take a bird's eye perspective of how it all fits into our greater brand, I suppose. And we're always talking about and arguing about what that actually means, but
Always.
but yeah, it's like at the end of the day, we're just us, and what we do and how we present it kind of just reflects different aspects of ourselves. Even though we are 5 pretty different dudes, it gives us a good range of ingredients.
So I was going to talk about Dissonance, but it did come out 18 months ago, so you are essentially different musicians in the writing process of new music. So this is more specific for Trenton. What do you do for writing the lyrics for the LP, EP, whatever it may be?
I don't. Sometimes, I have a tendency to just kind of jot little ideas down here and there, and usually it's only a few words or a turn of phrase or like an interpretation of a metaphor or something like that I'll just jot down. And when I need to, when a song starts to come together musically, then I'll start looking at different ideas and see what kind of fits the actual vibe of the song. But to be honest, I don't know. I feel like my main inspiration for writing stuff is just language itself and the way you can use it to influence the way that people think, the way that single words impact the way that we interact with the world, whether it's poetry, politics, or anything in between. Like it shapes the way that we think. And so I don't know, I have a tendency to just kind of sit there thinking about philosophical things, and sometimes just little ways, like little fragments of explanation of the way the world works just kind of come together. And I don't know, I guess to just try and flesh it out. I mean, I had a great English teacher when I was in high school that really kind of pushed me to refine the way that I think around lyrics and different ways of saying things and different ways of looking at things to really present something that's cohesive. So I mean, it's always a bit of a struggle and a lot of stress to kind of put it together, especially when it's a tight time situation like being in the studio with a song we've just written and got a track in a couple of days. But yeah, I don't know, there's not really a set process to it, but there's a few different ways that it comes together.
Well, I know you guys are busy, so I want to thank you for joining me for a bit to talk about yourselves as musicians and all of that. Hopefully we can get you on air for when future releases come out and you can actually go into depth about lyrics and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, man.
So everyone stay tuned for more interviews.